So we are in the Silicon Valley, and one of the things that we think a lot about is mastery.
About?
Mastery, learning to conquer the known. And there's billions of dollars being spent on trying to conquer the body so it can live forever, those kinds of things. And when we read your stories in your books, there's this shift from mastery to mystery. And that's more about embracing the unknown and almost surrendering to it. So mastery has its place because it allows us to function.
Of course.
And yet there's this edge with holding mystery. And there's this complication of like what may be mystery for you, I may just want to go there, but I have to go through, I do a lot of bypassing. So how do you suggest that we hold the unknown so we can balance the mastery with the mystery?
Yep. Well, the mastery, I think what you mean by mastery, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I think all the internet and other facilities that we have and our desire to, as you said, grow and conquer and become, well, actually, it is the built-in desire in the mind. It's already there to grow and expand, except the problem is we think we can expand and grow this way. Actually, you expand and grow this way when you go in. In Vedanta, there is a term called, there are two terms. One is the Pravritti Marga and the other is the Nivritti Marga. So in this world, when you live, you have to balance both. There's no question about that. However, what you really seek, the growth and the infinite fullness that you seek, can be found only if you go inside. However, I have come to understand that the outside scientific inventions and advancement of internet and so on are useful tools. I wouldn't say that they should be abandoned. They are very useful. Today you can sit in one corner of the world and know what's happening in, let's say, the Himalayas. How? Because of science and technology. So I'm not for giving up science and technology. It needs to be humanized and not made into just a machinery. You know what I mean? And so therefore you have to, since you're living in this world, look, I live in this world myself. We live in this world. I'm saying, don't think I'm out of it. I live in this world. And we need to balance. We can't live here without, if you don't balance it and if you fall completely under the influence of what you call mastery, it usually ends up in disaster. So while you do it, you should keep in mind that what I seek needs to be found within. If this is there, I think one can balance. I'm married myself. I have a wife. In the early days, there was a small book written, and somebody wrote an introduction. Say, Sri M is married with one wife and two children. I said, married would have been enough. No need to. So, maybe they thought I'm going back to my background. Anyway, so so I'm married. I have a wife. I have two kids who've grown up and who have also got married now. And not that I asked them to, they could have stayed if they want to. It was up to them. And this whole process of the Satsang Foundation and the trips I make to teach, they're all part of the world. Right? You need to balance. You can't say I'm meditating and miss the flight. So, and in fact, it's my understanding that as you go deeper into your inner self, and the mind and the brain and the body becomes clearer and more healthy for you to function in this world. It's not the other way around. It's not as if because you meditate you're lost in some kind of semi-conscious state. You're not. Yes, when you're meditating you go into a different state, but that purifies and clears up your mind and makes it one-pointed and clear and able to function better. All the great rishis who have talked about wonderful things out of their own experiences. They wrote such wonderful scriptures, so clear and so concise. They couldn't have done it if they were living in a semi-conscious state. Believe me, they were going into a spiritual life, not smoking cannabis. Then, from morning I'm fine, I'm in samadhi. I said, please, you're not in samadhi. It's just a chemical reaction. Get out of it. So, it's okay. If used for medical purpose, I can understand all that, but you know what I mean. So, I think it needs to be balanced, and it can be balanced. I would put myself up as an example of that kind of balance. I'm trying my best, of course. There are times when you feel, what's all this going on, get out. Then you look at people looking at you so expectantly and you say, no, wait. When I must stop with this. In this question, I'll say something and then we'll go to the next. When I was with Babaji, Vishwanath Babaji, and after 2.5, 3 years, he asked me to go back. He said, purpose. I said, but Babaji, why? Why should I go back? It's so lovely here. There's no agenda. There's no particular, nothing is fixed. You don't have to get up and say, it's time to go to office. No, nothing. And you're walking on the Himalayas, the valleys, it's lovely water in the Ganga. You get food that's not a problem. We think it's a big problem, but it's not. And then, provided you're ready to eat what you get. And I spend hours meditating, enjoying myself. And then when I open my eyes, I see the ice-clad Himalayas. I said, why are you asking me to go back into the muck? Can I stay here for it? Look at you. You're not going back. You're asking me. So why should I go back? You know what he said? He said, I worked on you 3 years, almost, to make you kind and compassionate and useful to human beings. It looks like you become hard. You just want to enjoy. Why can't you share it with others? And if you have to share it with, there are dangers. You might have to go through difficulties. If you're not ready for that, what is the meaning of sacrifice? Tell me. I still kept, Babaji, he said, "Tika." He said, when you first came to me, after 1 year, I asked you a question. He said, what question? He asked me several questions, so which one? So he said, I said, in relationship to me, what do you think you are? Who do you think you are? I said, yes, you did. And he said, what did you answer me? I said, after 1 year being with you, that was the best answer I could give. I said, I'm your puppy dog. I said that. I really said that. I said, I'm your puppy dog. You sit there and I keep looking at you. and you walk and I'm walking behind you. I'm like a puppy dog. Yeah? So he said, then what did I say? I thought about it and I said, yeah, you said you might be my dog, but don't shake your tail too much. Did I say that? I said, yes, you did. Don't shake your tail. Go back and do what I asked you to do. So I had no option other than saying, okay, Professor. I said, please keep in touch with me. He said, of course I keep in touch with you, but go. So, which means it was necessary to come into this world. And it's necessary for all of us who have at least something to share, to live in this world and share it with others. The meditation and your spiritual practices will help you to share it without selfishness, without self-centeredness.
Just a last question before we pass the food out and do question and answer. On that note, if someone asks you what's the right way to serve, Because especially in this crowd, everyone understands that to do something for others is service, but there's so much self in that, and there's so much escapism that even generosity, they have books on generosity where they said generosity makes you feel good. The neurochemical, synapses that take place in your brain releases all this oxytocin and dopamine. It feels good. You should serve so you feel good. How do you, if someone asks you that question, that what's the ideal way to practice a small act of service, what would you say?
I think even the word service wouldn't be a proper definition for this. Because when you say serve, means you're trying to do something to somebody. Which means we are on a platform and somebody is down below and you're reaching out to help this person. I would rather say that the best way I feel service is to make everyone aware that they are not ordinary human beings. Of course, when somebody is hungry, you should give them food. We understood normal. And when you give, if you have oxytocin and feel good, that's okay. It's a byproduct. Don't worry too much about that. And sometimes when you give, there is no oxytocin, you feel bad. But you give. So, we leave that for the time. But what I think is one of the best service possible is to share with others the understanding that none of you are ordinary people. Everybody has a potential for being an extraordinary person in some way. In India we have a party called Aam Admi Party. I totally disagree. There is no Aam Admi. There is no ordinary person. Everybody has seeds of extraordinariness, if there is a word like that. And I think if we can, while trying to help, if a person is poor and he has no food, you can't tell them, oh, you are extraordinary, he needs food, I understand. So that we should provide, of course, as much as we can. And when we do that, we should do it with the understanding that all the things in the world are for sharing. They don't belong to me. Do they really belong to me? They belong to the earth. We have some of us have more and some have less. So it's our part of our duty to serve. There's nothing big about that. We need to. But apart from that, the best service, again I repeat, would be to make people understand that they are no different from us, in the sense that the potential for infinity is in everyone. To reach that infinity, I think that would be the best service I can do, because I don't have millions to distribute at least, but this I can do. And I think with that they will learn how to make the millions if they want. If they want. Maybe they find the treasure and they don't want it. That's a different story. Jesus Christ said that on the top of the mount when he said, lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. So if somebody can find that treasure, great.
That's beautiful. Just to follow up, your first chapter in the book ends with this beautiful quote, which is always staying with me, from Babaji. He says, one act of kindness is stronger than 100 years of austere penance. And we read that, we understand that. But can you speak about what is that quality of that act of kindness? Because that's an amazing statement to say 100 years of penance and this one act of kindness, to equate the two, but the quality of that act of kindness.
The quality of that act, you can't even define it as kindness. It's like, you're full and there's something flowing out of you. If you're empty, nothing can flow out. What will I give if I'm empty? I'm full. Yeah, there's a different definition for empty. According to the Buddhist philosophy, the emptiness is everything. Shunya. But that doesn't mean it's empty, it means it's that which cannot be defined, which can't be grasped by our mind. But there, when you touch that, then every act, even if it's a simple act, becomes a spiritual act. That's what Babaji meant. He said, don't look for big philanthropy to be kind. One little act. Someone walking on the road, just can you make the person cross the road? Or someone stuck, can you help the person out? Now, it need not be confined only to human beings, even animals. Be kind to animals. Sometimes they're more faithful than human beings. Be kind to animals, because when you look at the eyes of animals, sometimes you see so much feeling in there. They can't speak, they don't have words. We have words, we know how to speak. They don't. They also need attention. So, what I'm trying to say, it need not be a trumpeted, much advertised act. It can be a simple act in your life, in your house, with your neighbor. That act is an act of kindness.
I just wanted to ask Shrinji, if we thought that we are degrading spiritually, as there is modernity as we go along, but if you look at the religious texts that were produced earlier without all the technology, so are we degrading in some ways?
So can you repeat that question?
As a species, are we degrading with our technological process, or are we evolving in a more wholesome direction?
Is that?
I mean, say more in a spiritual context.
In a spiritual context, yeah. And then, go ahead.
As we experience on the spiritual path,
Sure.
if we do, as we experience mystical experiences, should we, what would that represent, and or what in your case, how did you feel when you experienced mystery? Is it some kind of, you felt like it was a milestone, or was it like insignificant and you're pursuing a greater goal, or how should we handle it?
So in order to give, it's been said that one needs to be full, one needs to help oneself before one helps others. So I guess I'm just making a point, and I'm wondering if you agree with that. And then how does one in this day and age achieve the amount of tapas or sadhana necessary to reach the level that's desirable? Or I have other questions, like liberation, I would think, is the goal.
So if we want to give from a place of fullness, how do you get to that fullness? That's not a perfect, but you heard, yeah.
So these are the three questions.
Yeah, whichever one you feel moved to, and then we'll take more.
Okay. These are the
Shorter would be better, since we have a lot of hands.
So to your question, sir, I don't think that we are degenerating because we are advancing scientifically. I don't think so. But because of our inordinate interest in the outside world and improving the outside world, it's possible that we may be neglecting the inner development in some way. However, in all periods of history, there have been actions and movements and thoughts coming from other sources which seek to balance this. So there is no real danger of that. Plus, if you use the technology and the advancement that we have now today and apply it to your spiritual development and to broadcast what you feel about spiritual, then it becomes a useful tool. If you don't, then it becomes an anti-development program.
Makes sense.
I don't think that, per se you can't say that it's bad and that we are in fact, I feel that the human being has now evolved enough to understand that progress in this world has come to the highest thing possible at the moment, and that we need to look for progress in the spiritual now. I think that's an evolution actually. Move from the frontal lobe to the other centers.
Mysticism?
This about having spiritual experiences. Well, in some way, to have a spiritual experience, like seeing something extraordinary, or helps us to be on the path and say, okay, I'm moving now. I'm feeling something better. But if one gets inordinately attached to that, then it becomes an obstacle. Like people, when they start meditating in the beginning, sometimes they see nice, wonderful lights, or they start smelling like perfume. I always warn people, check if your neighbor is lighting an agarbatti. But suppose it's not, and you're actually feeling, then it helps you to move forward saying that, oh, something is happening, I'm not wasting my time. But then when I sit down to meditate every day and expect this thing to happen, then it becomes an obstacle. Not more than an obstacle, it becomes a bondage, and later on it may become a burden. So they are important, but you need to look at them in a balanced way. Yeah, they're a good sign, yeah, we are moving.
And how do you become full so you can give?
This is one thing, when you ask me the question, you don't become full, you are full. We don't see it. We don't see it. There is this beautiful Sanskrit teaching, sloka, Purnamada, Purnamidam. That is complete. But we think we are not complete, we are incomplete. But the good news is that it says Purnamada, Purnamidam. This is also complete when you discover it. So, corollary to your question, which you might have asked if you had time, I think as we begin to share with others, even in the physical world, we're actually trying to prove to the mind that we are one. It's one thing to philosophically say we are one. But when you actually, even in a small way, share with others, then you are actually psychologically practicing what you philosophically have agreed to, which is that we are one. So, both sides need to go together. Your life in this world and your life in the spiritual journey. If these two go together, then perhaps we could understand in depth what we mean by sharing.